Hey everyone, PJ Mills here, and I know it's been a very long time since I've done an album review, especially a long form review, but I have some things I want to cover at the end of this video, and instead of just creating an update video, if you will, I thought I would go ahead and take a look at Red's new album, Declaration, because in a way I kind of see Red as one of those bands who I've been talking about since the beginning of this channel. If you've been a long-time subscriber of mine, or if you stumble across this video and happen to enjoy it, please stick around for the end of this video because what I'm going to share with you all is really important, and it's drastically going to affect the future of my channel. So please just stick around till the end. I very much appreciate it. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about Red's new album, Declaration. It was released yesterday, April 3rd, and there's been quite a bit of hype surrounding this album, primarily because they are no longer signed. They are an independent band, and majority of this record was crowdfunded, and that's pretty cool when artists do things like that, because obviously that gives them a lot more freedom to try things. And so I was very excited to hear this album, and obviously I had heard the EP, The Evening Hate, prior to this, and I'll kind of get into more thoughts on that as we get to those tracks. I don't want to, no spoilers. Let's go ahead and go track by track. I'll just go from the beginning to the end, and I'll just kind of give some brief thoughts on what I think about each song. All right, so the first song is All For You, and what we have here is another Red song about kind of internal struggles and battling with your inner demons and whatnot. And this is a very, very popular topic to be tackled by pretty much every rock band on the planet. It's a favorite type of subject matter. Red's definitely been down this path before, and one of my personal favorite tracks of theirs, Let Go, deals with this very topic. And so for me personally, this song kind of felt like a revisit to something like that. But if I'm being honest, unfortunately, it didn't quite work for me as well as tracks like Let Go, simply because I just felt like there wasn't, one, as much emotion, and two, one thing I've mentioned in the past when it comes to Red is this journey that they take the listener on. And while there's definitely a journey per se on this track, it didn't quite feel as full as Let Go did. And so for me, if I had to choose between a Let Go or All For You, I'm definitely going to stick with Let Go. But that's my personal preference. The next song was Infidel. And immediately when I saw the track listing, this title intrigued me because the topic of infidelity is a pretty, heavy subject matter. I mean, you can get a lot of really intense stuff out of that. So for me, I was curious what they were going to be dealing with here. And again, I could be wrong. I could have missed the mark completely. So feel free to burn me alive in the comment section. But I feel like after reading the lyrics and listening to the song several times, it kind of felt like a rehash of All For You, or, that internal struggle type stuff, or dealing with an internal challenge or demon, if you will. But once again, it didn't quite seem as interesting or as profound to me. And that was kind of disappointing because I was really intrigued by the title, and it kind of felt like a bit of a letdown. The next track is Cauterized, and here I really enjoyed the melody quite a bit. There's a lot of dynamic range. 1 minute things are really intense and heavy, and then we kind of slow down a lot. Once again, reminds me a lot of some of the stuff that we hear on End of Silence, their first album. And I gotta say, the bridge section, or the interlude at the end of the track, or towards the end of the track, where the lyrics are, 1,000 scars betray me, oh, what's another one? At least they make me feel like I'm not the only one. Legitimately, the first time I heard this, I got chills, and it moved me very profoundly, because something about that what's another scar mentality, I can say I've been there before. I think it's very easy as individuals sometimes to get really burdened down by the struggles that we have. And sometimes when something else gets thrown in our laps, or something else we're struggling with, it's very easy to just go, whatever, it's just another problem, And I really like that. I thought that was a well-written line. And overall, I thought this song was pretty solid. And it seems to kind of be dealing with, at least from my perspective, the Sermon on the Mount part from Matthew 5:30, where Jesus is talking about if your right hand causes you to stumble, you should cut it off. And I thought that was a pretty good subject matter. Again, it kind of falls in line with what the previous two songs are about in a way, kind of internal struggles. But I thought this one was a little more unique and, at least for me, profound. And once again, I really thought the interlude was just so many things. It represented so many aspects of what I love about the band Red. Just that ability to kind of tap into that emotional vulnerability. And I thought Michael Barnes' vocals were absolutely fantastic. And I thought the melody was beautiful. The War We Made is track 4, and this is one of the singles that they had previously released. And from the very first time I heard it, I was actually a little torn because the very first time I listened to it, I wasn't crazy about it. To me, it kind of felt like a rehash of Not Alone from Until We Have Faces. But after listening to it a couple more times and really just giving myself a chance to get into it more, I found myself really liking it a lot. Probably even more than Not Alone, simply because I really think the vocal intensity that Michael Barnes brings here perfectly matches the message of the song. And it's basically, from my perspective, struggling with these questions that we ask ourselves, like, am I alone? Am I all right? Am I insane? Am I alive? To quote the song specifically. And I thought his vocal intensity really helped bring out that inner frustration that we can sometimes encounter when we're trying to answer these questions. It's not an easy thing to wrestle with. And I love the production work here. It's not one of Red's heavier songs, but I think it's really well executed and well done. And I think that this track would be an incredible song to see within an acoustic setting. And I'm bummed that I missed their acoustic show yesterday with the release of their album. My family's kind of dealing with stuff, so I wasn't really able to get away to watch that. But I'm sure this song specifically would have been really fantastic to see. But anyways, the next song is The Evening Hate. And this was the big track that they promoted and pushed for their EP that they released a little bit ago. And to me, I'm a little bit torn on this track because in one aspect, it is very much what we might expect to hear from Red, in the fact that it reminds me personally a lot of songs like Feed the Machine. But for me, I think that The Evening Hate is actually considerably better than Feed the Machine. And I know that might be crazy. I know there's a lot of people who love that song out there. But for me personally, I always kind of thought Feed the Machine was a little overrated. And so when I heard this song, and it kind of felt like maybe they were revisiting it a little bit, I really liked it because I thought that they took the aspects that made the Feed the Machine appealing and drastically improved them. I really enjoy the subject matter the song is dealing with. It's very similar to what we've been dealing with thus far in the album, a lot of kind of self-reflection and inner torment, if you will, which is not uncommon for Red. But I really enjoyed the fact that it was kind of painted in this, visual, or this, mental idea that it's like, you get to the end of the day and then you're kind of alone with your thoughts at the end of all the work that you push through. And there's kind of this inner torment that you deal with. There's that old saying, and I had no idea where it's from, but it's an idle mind is the devil's playground. And I think there's a lot of truth to that in the fact that a lot of times when we have time to sit and be alone with ourselves, those moments can be very difficult or challenging because there's a lot of things we don't deal with when we're busy and we're consuming constantly. But then when things quiet down, all of a sudden we have to face our fears or our anxiety. And I think this song kind of deals with that. And I really enjoyed a lot about it. And the bridge, oh man, that drop C just comes in heavy and hard. And I really like that. Next in line is a track called Float. And here it almost seems like Michael Barnes is channeling Jonathan Davis, the lead singer of Korn. And I really liked it at first. I was digging the verse. It was heavier than Red typically is. And I was all pumped for the chorus. I was like, all right, I can feel it. It's building up. It's going to be heavy and intense. And then we kind of just glided into this typical Red soaring chorus. And it kind of felt a little anticlimactic to me. And again, I'm sure there's people that would disagree, but I was hyped. I was ready for a punch in the face and kind of got a soft tap on the cheek. And it was a little underwhelming. And it was actually funny because on the bridge part, Michael Barnes starts to sing under his breath really intensely. And there's a lot of anger and built up aggression in there. And this is not uncommon for Red. They do it a lot. But to me, it always kind of represents this building momentum that we're coming up to something really heavy. And that way, when you get the final, yeah, it's really heavy and intense and it punches you in the face. And I love it. And so for me on this track specifically, I was expecting that. I was building up. I was getting ready for it. And then it was the soaring chorus again. And it kind of threw me, I kind of chuckled. It threw me off because I was like, what? I was expecting a punch in the face. So to me, I think there's some okay production here, but to me, the song felt a little anticlimactic. And again, I enjoyed the verses, but I think I would have liked the choruses to be a little bit heavier. Next is a song called The Victim. And if I'm being honest, there wasn't a ton about this song that really grabbed me. I thought the production opens up kind of unique for Red. It threw me off. I was like, oh, this is new. But the chorus wasn't that interesting. I think Michael Barnes' vocals sound great, but lyrically, just a lot about the song wasn't that interesting. The guitar was kind of underwhelming, and it felt basically like filler to me. But the next track in line, Sever, I would say is one of the best Red songs since The Darkest Part off of Beauty and Rage. And I'm a big fan of that song, so that should tell y'all something. This song, from the opening line, paralyzed the soul that I bared again. I gave more than I could give. I think it paints a beautiful picture in a way. And I think there's a simple way to look at this track and then a more complex way. And to me, what I get out of the song when I listen to it is they're talking about, at least from my perspective, they're talking about how as an artist, you're kind of bearing your soul in a way, or opening up to people and sharing a part of yourself, and how that can be really hard and very demanding, especially when your fans are people that consume your art or music, start sharing their thoughts or opinions, which is what I'm doing right now. But it's hard to please everyone, and it's hard to make everyone happy. Realistically, it's impossible. But there's this desire to, be the best version of yourself. And sometimes that means kind of cutting ties with what people expect in a way. And I can say that I relate to this on a very profound level. And I think Red taps into something here that I haven't heard them deal with in the past. And I really like it. I really like this song a lot. And there's no denying the Breaking Benjamin influence. And I know they co-wrote the song with Keith Allen. But for me, this song is so Red because it just feels like over the past, number of years that they've kind of been producing and creating music. To me, something that has always been very, very apparent is how much they care about their fan base and feedback, and the feedback that they receive from their fans. Because I've been all over the place with my videos that I've created, and I've loved Red albums. I've not enjoyed Red albums, but it seems like every single video I created and every piece of feedback that I ever offered was listened to. And I'm not saying that Red is watching my videos. What I more mean is, as a fan, when I listen to their music and I have thoughts or have opinions, they seem to care about that. They're not just out there being like, oh, whatever, we're going to blaze a trail and we don't care what the fans think. And I think that's cool that they really seem to care about what their listeners are thinking about their music. And obviously you have to be careful. You can't be controlled by your fans. And in a way, that's what this song is about. But I think the reason this song is so Red is because of the fact that over the years, it's been so apparent that they care so much. And I know that the guys from Red really want people to enjoy their music and really want their fan base to get something profound out of what they're doing. And it's so apparent to me. And so this song specifically really stood out to me as like, hey, I think they're getting a new perspective on this stuff, and I think it's good, and I think it's healthy. And especially now that they're an independent artist, I think this new freedom is going to bring about some very positive things for the group. So I'm excited about that. And that, I know that was a lot to kind of focus on one song. And I'm actually going to bring this up later in the video, but we're going to move on for now. The next song is Only Fight. And I can say the very first time I listened to this song, it was shocking to me how much, especially on the chorus, Michael Barnes sounded like Pete Loeffler, the lead singer of Chevelle. I've never heard him sound so much like Pete, and it was crazy because I was almost like, is Pete like a guest singer on this? Like, what is going on here? And the whole song kind of sounds like a blend of Chevelle and Starset, and I think it's interesting, and I definitely think I'm happy it got included on the album because I think it shows that Red's trying some new things and trying to be more adventurous. But I think for me, it's still not one of my standout or favorite songs from the record, simply because I don't know, it didn't work for me fully. But I have a lot of respect for them trying this because I think that was a pretty cool thing to try. Lastly, the last song on the album is From the Ashes. And I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but to me, I wasn't really a big fan of this song. And my reason for that is it just feels too much like Breaking Benjamin. And the lyrics almost seem like they were pulled from a B-side off of Dark Before Dawn. And it's not horrible. I think the production is really solid. Michael Barnes, once again, has some great vocal moments. But I just wasn't crazy about it overall. And I think that's what made the EP kind of hard to stomach when they released it, because when I first heard The Evening Hate, I really liked it. And then when they released From the Ashes, I was a little underwhelmed. But then when they released the EP and it had like acoustic versions of the songs and then like a cover, it kind of felt like a lot of padding or a lot of filler, and I wasn't really that impressed with it. So that's in part why I didn't really create a video or talk about it all that much, because I was like, well, I really like The Evening Hate, and that's about all I have to say. And I didn't want to waste everybody's time by just saying that. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on each track individually. I think the album has some really good moments on it. Cauterized, The War We Made, The Evening Hate, and Sever are all fantastic songs that I really enjoyed. And a part of me feels like there's a lot of tracks on here that Red, and again, I could be wrong by saying this, they didn't seem to care as much about. And what I mean by that is some of the production, it just isn't as rich or as good. But tracks like Sever and The War We Made, it's so clear to me they spent a long time refining those tracks and making them sound really good and really full. And the lyrics are fantastic. But some of the other songs on here just kind of felt like they were just trying to pad the runtime, make a full album. And I think I'm torn on this because, and I know I said that before, but when Red first became an independent band, they stated in their videos that they were going to be focusing on doing individual songs or releasing an EP or something like that. And that actually made me excited, because as someone who has recorded and released music, it's really hard to be excited about an entire album. Now, let me clarify. I'm not saying that an artist can't have 10 or 12 songs that they absolutely love and then record them and release. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, when you are creating something and you put a lot of work into it, there are going to be moments that you really adore and are really special to you. And then there's also going to be moments that are still special and you like, but they're not quite as special or they're not quite as important. And I know I might be alone in that, but for me, it feels like Red released this album and there were moments that really mattered, and then other moments that were just kind of them trying to create more music to have out there in the ether. And I almost wish they had just created a really solid EP, like featuring tracks like Sever, The Evening Hate, Cauterized, The War We Made, and then maybe include From the Ashes or one of the other tracks on there, just as, along with that. And that right there is 5 songs. They released that, and that's just a fantastic EP with 5 really great songs. And I think people would have enjoyed that. But I understand how, as an artist, there's pressure to create albums or, longer running pieces of music, because, you get more opportunity for people to like a specific song. Whereas if you just release a 4-track EP, then that kind of limits people's potential or interest. And also, it's hard to get people to go out and buy a hard copy of an EP because you're just getting 4 songs. So I understand how within the system we have kind of established, it's really difficult to push or be successful with only EPs. And there's a part of me that thinks the future of music is changing because there are a lot of very, very popular and well-known artists who have never released an album. And that is crazy because if that happened 20 years ago, well, it probably would not have been very possible at all. But now with music streaming, it's a whole new window of opportunity. And so there's a part of me that kind of hopes if Red, y'all happen to see this video, first off, I love y'all's music and I have for a long time and I hope y'all know that. But secondly, I really think the message that y'all were talking about in Sever, or at least the message I thought y'all were talking about, create and focus on what y'all want to do. Don't feel pressure to create albums and include filler material and pad things out. If you have a good couple songs, release those songs. Don't feel like you have to create this massive work of art for us. Because honestly, when I was listening to the singles Sever and The Evening Hate, I was like, this is great. I love this. I don't need a full album. And maybe I could be alone in this. By all means, if I am alone, let me know in the comment section. If you're like, PJ, albums are the way to go, you need to shut your mouth and stop talking about this stuff. You don't know what you're talking about. Absolutely, that's fair. But I think we're entering a time where there's a lot of power in simplicity and keeping things, not full, if you will. And that sounds weird, but I really think this could have been a phenomenal EP. And Red felt pressure to create an album. And I almost wish they had just created a really solid EP, not with, acoustic versions of the songs or anything, but just 5 tracks, all of them originals, and all of them just songs that they're passionate about and clearly excited about. Because to me, it seems pretty clear that there were a handful of tracks on this EP or this album that they were very excited about, whereas there was a couple others they weren't quite as excited about. But hey, I'm very aware that I could be way off in my assumption here. And who knows, maybe Michael Barnes and the Armstrong twins were absolutely crazy about tracks like Infidel, and I'm just losing my mind thinking that, maybe they were just trying to make people happy and pad things out a bit. And if that's the case, I will gladly say I'm sorry and, move in another direction. But for me, when I was listening to this record and kind of listening to some of the stuff they were saying over the past year about their music, it just seems to me like they're wanting to do what they want to do. And I have a lot of respect for that because as an artist, like I said before, it is hard to create a full album and be passionate about every single song. It's a lot easier and sometimes fulfilling to focus on, 3, 4, maybe 5 tracks and just really pour your heart and soul into them. And I think in a lot of ways, that's where music's headed. And I apologize that I'm kind of being repetitive here, but now I'm going to talk about something that I've been mulling over for a long time now, and I didn't exactly know how to put this. But after listening to this record, and that's why I thought this would be a good time to talk about this, specifically the song Sever and what I had kind of mentioned earlier, I've been wrestling with this idea of why I talk about music on the internet and what I'm trying to get out of it, and if I even really enjoy what I'm doing. And the truth is, what I enjoy about talking about music is the community that I've built on this channel. I never thought I would have a group of individuals who care about what I think or respect my opinion when it comes to music in general. Because in high school, I used to talk about music constantly with my friends, and I used to drive them crazy. They're like, why are you talking about this band no one cares about? But over the years, I've started realizing and honing in on what I'm really passionate about. And what I'm really and truly passionate about is storytelling. And this encompasses a large variety of mediums. I'm passionate about filmmaking. I'm passionate about music and composing and writing and performing music. I'm passionate about talking to individuals and learning about their stories. And in a lot of ways, reviewing music has kind of allowed me to explore this a bit because I've been able to dive into, what artists are experiencing and then writing about and things like this, and I really enjoyed that. But more recently, I guess I've been reflecting on the fact that I feel like a lot of YouTube is just people reacting to things. And I don't necessarily think this is a bad thing, because I think that as human beings, we get a lot out of seeing how other people react to things, or what other people think, because it helps us build what our opinion is. But I think what I'm trying to do is create original content and not react to other people's content, because that's never been my desire. I'm a person who loves to create and loves to explore new things, and not simply consume other people's content and share my perspective on it. And what I'm trying to say is I'm not going away. I'm not going to stop doing YouTube, but I want to start creating material that feels original to me, or feels unique to me. I want to know what y'all think about this, because I know there's a lot of y'all who are only subscribed to my channel because I do the top 15s or the top 5s, or I reviewed an album you really liked, and you don't care what else I'm doing. And that's okay. I'm not offended or hurt by that. I just want to be honest about this, because I don't want to lead people on and have people think that, oh, he's going to come back and he's going to start doing Quarter to Four again, or he's going to come back and he's going to start doing album reviews again. I'm really struggling, and I don't think that's the path I want to go down. And much like I was talking about with the track Sever on Declaration, Red's wrestling with, following their own path and being true to themselves. And I'm kind of struggling with the same thing. And I think that's why I love the song so much. But like I said, after wrestling with it for a long time, I think I'm going to move away from that. So if that means that we're parting ways, I respect that. Y'all can go ahead and hit unsubscribe, and that's okay. I'm not upset. But if y'all enjoy me and the things I've done over the years, I would love for y'all to stick around. Obviously, like I've said many times, my wife and I are making music now, and that's just been so much fun. It's so great to have a creative avenue that I can explore with the woman I love. And so that's been fantastic. And also, I've been trying to do these story videos. I have a lot of plans for that. It's not just going to be me sitting here talking about a weird story or whatever. I'm actually going to be growing that, so it's going to be more than just me. But I wanted to start it off with just me, because I know most people are subscribed to this channel because they're used to me talking. So in closing, thank you all so much for sticking with me over the years. I know this video was kind of long and rough, and I just babbled for a long time. But hopefully y'all were able to get some information that was helpful. And I look forward to watching my subscriber count plummet over the next couple days. But that's okay. Because I can say I feel like moving forward, I'm going to be doing something that I'm actually passionate about. Not that I wasn't passionate about the music to begin with, but I just feel recently like I've been pulled in this direction, and I want to embrace that. I want to go where I feel like I am meant to go, and where I've been headed from the very beginning. So thank y'all so much for your loyalty and your positive feedback. And I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I would love to know what y'all thought of Red's new album. Feel free to share it with me. Even if you're planning on unsubscribing, go ahead and share below. I would love to read it, and I do read all of your comments. So thank y'all so much for all the loyalty over the years. And for those of y'all sticking with me, get excited, because I do have some exciting stuff coming up around the corner. Thank y'all so much.